So the rain has moved on.
This WeatherScope is sponsored by MCI, one company, one local to global connection.
This is WeatherScope.
Another winter storm menaces the east, and wintry mixes affecting places in the north, while heavy rain and potential flooding threatens areas in the southeast. Janetta has the latest from our forecast center.
Thanks, Rich. We are watching parts of the Northeast. We've got all kinds of winter weather advisories in effect, winter storm watches and warnings, and also some flash flood watches. I'm joined now by Colin Marquis, senior meteorologist here at the Weather Channel. And Colin, this is quite a storm system, and it's going to have sort of a double whammy to it.
Yeah, it's affecting a lot of people, number one, and you're right. For the Northeast, there'll be a 1-2 punch with the first coming in tonight. And then the second, and it's a more powerful storm, but we're not quite sure how close it's going to be to the coast or how far offshore. That won't be until later tomorrow into tomorrow night.
As we check out the radar, we can see that the moisture is just starting to reach into southern New England, but places like D.C., well, they've been in it for quite a while, as well as Philly and New York City.
Yeah, D.C. had problems for the morning commute, but toward late morning, the warm air worked in, and so it went over to plain rain there. D.C. up to Philly, up to New York City, all no problems within the city bounds, but you don't have to go too far to the northwest, particularly in New York, only about 5 or 10 miles, and it does become quite treacherous. Temperatures just below freezing, and we're expecting sleet and freezing rain to be a problem for commuters heading out to the northwest of the city.
And some of the ice accumulations in certain areas up to ½ an inch.
Yeah, and I do want to stress that this is a bad situation, a significant icing, but we're not trying to compare it to the event that occurred across southeast Canada and northern New England. It's not in the same caliber.
Okay. Right now, we are going to go to Worcester, Massachusetts, and our own Kristen Dodd is standing by to give us an idea of what's happening there right now.
Well, Janetta, right now we're continuing to see just a few snow grains fall, nothing like the burst of snow that we had a little bit earlier. And even with that snowfall, nothing really accumulated. Behind me here in Worcester on Route 9, you can see the commuters are having an easy time getting home. Earlier, of course, they did have to use their windshield wipers to get some of that snow off. The roads are now wet, and I did just see a salt truck drive by and begin spreading some of the salt to make sure that nothing is causing any problems for the trip home. As far as later on tonight, well, we do expect our snowfall here in central Massachusetts to pick up, and we could see accumulations from the extreme southern portion of New Hampshire down through Worcester and on through the Berkshires and also into the Litchfield Hills in Connecticut. As far as Boston is concerned, well, Your temperature right now, right around that freezing point, so the setup is a little bit different as we are much colder here. Here we're expecting to see the snow. Over toward Boston, it looks like snow perhaps on the north side of the city, in the northern suburbs, in Lowell and Lawrence, and also up toward the North Shore. South, well, that's where we're seeing warmer air coming in off the ocean with winds out of the southeast. And so warmer temperatures in store, at least for the early portion of the evening, and your precip may be in the form of rain, but that line is just a little bit iffy, and as you know, the exact positioning of these kind of storms is definitely tricky. Janetta?
All right, thanks so much, Kristen. We'll be checking back with you in about half an hour. And I am joined by Colin Marquis here in the Forecast Center at the Weather Channel. We're talking about a storm system affecting the Northeast, and temperatures are going to be critical.
All the difference in the world, and as Kristen alluded to, our temperature all the way up to 32 degrees now in Boston, and with a southeast wind, there's no reason to believe that temperature won't creep up just a little more. And so it looks like from the city down across the South Shore, we may be dealing with just plain rain for much of this particular event, but you don't have to go too far inland. Bedford, for instance, still at 28, and that's going to mean a mixture of snow and some sleet and freezing rain as well.
So rush hour tomorrow morning could be pretty tricky for a lot of locales.
That's correct.
All right, once again, icy conditions, interior regions of Pennsylvania, maybe a mix, interior regions of Massachusetts and Connecticut. Looking at the radar, you can see just a few spritzes of precipitation near Boston, but the bulk of the moisture is moving in.
This is just some breakaway flurries that's moving through Worcester and on toward Boston. Here are the darker echoes down here just southwest of New York City, and we're watching that continue to move to the northeast in time and thinking that arriving in southern New England sometime mid to late evening on toward 9, 10, 11 o'clock.
We're also going to have to watch for flash flooding. Flash flood watches are in effect.
Flash flood watches in effect for Philadelphia area right up to the northeast part of New Jersey, including Newark. All these dark green echoes, and that's heavy rain to the average viewer here. That's going to come up over the next several hours. And we are talking about the potential for 1 to 2 inches of rain and some problems with runoff.
Okay. As we head to the southeast, we want to let you know that it's primarily a rain event right now, but that was not the case earlier this morning. South of Asheville, North Carolina, you're looking at pictures out of Henderson County in North Carolina. Got a little bit of icing on the, area, and then it changed over to rain, and we had kind of that kind of day with heavy rainfall. Flash flood watches are in effect. And here's a look at the radar. All a rain event now from Knoxville to Asheville to Charlotte and Raleigh and Durham. What about the potential for strong thunderstorms in Florida?
There is still some potential, but I think it is a minimal risk at this time for the Florida Peninsula.
Okay, thank you so much, Colin Marquis. We will be asking him some more questions coming up in a little while. Right now we go back to the studio and Rich Johnson.
All right, thank you, Janetta. Elsewhere in the country, the central U.S. sort of quiet today, while snow, wind, and rain are keeping things sort of busy in the west. Scenes from San Francisco today, looking like a little bit of a dose of wet weather. Also, the fog. Roads are going to be a little bit slippery, so you want to be extra careful as you're traveling around. And the west is going to be locked into a rainy pattern for a while. Surprise, surprise. Here are the current conditions in the west. Cold front making its way to the north. Pacific Northwest overall sort of dry today, but farther to the south, rain sliding up across Nevada, back over toward Salt Lake, bench areas, maybe a little bit of snow, but down over toward the Sierra, way on up today. That's where the snow levels are, 7,000 feet plus. Sort of mild, 61, San Francisco, the same in San Diego, not very cold, 40s and 30s for the interior. Here's the next storm right here, but that one's traveling a little bit farther to the north, but plenty of this moisture will be coming back on in anyhow. Here's the rain into the Central Valley, back edge of this first shot, then the next shot of rain. So it looked like it was going to settle down earlier, no chance. Into the northwest, a little bit of light rain around Puget Sound. Again, that is not the story. The story is farther south where we have rain in the San Joaquin Valley, snow up into the high Sierra. Again, the ski resorts are seeing the snow, especially on the tops. Heavier rain sliding away from San Francisco. But we do have some showers still off the coast. We expect to see showery conditions extend right on through this evening. Here's this evening's forecast. Again, this was the setup that we were looking at with the snow changing to rain around New York City. Tomorrow, maybe some cold air coming on back in. You might see a bit more of a mix, but what a sloppy mess. Starts out as snow. You get some sleet or freezing rain tossed in, then it changes the rain, then it goes back and forth, and doesn't seem like doesn't know what's going on there, where you see the big variety of weather. Now, this is a very complex storm. By tomorrow morning, the first low is off the coast. The secondary low is sort of going to ride right up this front here, so we should see unsettled conditions, especially southern New England, all the way through early